the woods while I was out walking the dog that very morning. Captain, the wolfhound, had dragged the end of the doctor's ludicrous scarf out of the undergrowth. It had given me quite a turn. I ravelled it up, excited and worried all at the same time, and then I'd found him, lying there on the damp grass with his hat over his face. Oh, for all too many seconds I thought he was dead and I'd found his corpse. But then he bellowed at me through his hat, "Good morning, Mrs Wibbsey, nice to see you again." Oh, and I was so cross. "What are you doing down there, you fool?" "I have returned from the brink of eternity," he boomed, lifting his hat and grinning at me, "because I believe you need my help." And now there he was, sitting in Nest Cottage with me once more. He slurped his tea as we sat by the fire. "I think you'd better tell me all about it, Mrs Wibbsey." And so I explained that the first I'd really heard about the trouble was when the disappearances started up in Hexford woods. Dog walkers came back saying they'd lost their pets, and then the pet owners themselves vanished as they went looking for Fido or Persephone or whoever. And also the postmistress, Emily Strange. She never came back after telling her sister she was going for a wander in rotten copse. But then again, I reflected as I poured the doctor more tea, perhaps it all really started when Camilla Cookson moved into the village and opened up her bakery. I could never see why she was touting for business in our little village. There's barely enough people to sustain the annual jumble sale, let alone a posh cake shop with its supposedly delicious pastries and cakes and sponge fingers and whatnot. She soon had a loyal clientele. They were queuing down the street to sample her wares. It was all a bit sickly for my tastes, and to be perfectly candid, I just didn't like the look of the woman. Snooty and peculiar, I thought. Really, though, most of the changes came about when our local author, Tish Maddock, joined the local witches' coven. That's not how they referred to themselves, of course. Up till then, they'd been a fairly quiet, discreet little club with an interest in the occult, as they put it on the village notice board. But when Tish decided to do some research for her next novel, which was going to have a supernatural theme, well, that's when things started to get out of hand. Yes, Mrs Wibbsey," said the doctor impatiently as I was telling him all of this. "I think I've heard quite enough tittle-tattle for one evening. Let's go and do some actual investigating, shall we?" He beamed at me and jumped up to pull his coat and scarf back on. Even though by then it was after midnight, I knew very well there'd be no getting out of it. We thought about taking Captain for a walk, but the old wolfhound was dozing in front of the fire. He was getting too old and too creaky for tramping about in the woods after dark. So was I, as it happens, but I didn't expect the doctor to listen to my complaints. "I hope that dog is being properly looked after," the doctor muttered, and I pointed out that Mike Yates still walked him every morning. The dog divided his time between our two households, though he spent more time with me because Tish's sister, Deirdre, is allergic to dog hair. Anyway, I reassured the doctor that of course I was making sure that the dog and the cottage and everything was cared for in his absence while he was travelling in time and space just as usual. He could rely on all of us. "Mike's living here in Hexford, is he?" the doctor asked as we crept through the deserted village lanes. "Yes, he finally made the move last year. He lodges with Deirdre and her cousin Tish. I don't know the precise arrangements, I'm sure, but they make a very happy household, seemingly." We made for the woods. It was so dark I couldn't see where we were going at all. I just took hold of one end of the doctor's scarf and was dragged along in his wake as he hurried through the crepuscular undergrowth. "Rotten copse," he said, and his voice was loud in the dark clearing. "The name befits it. Who in their right mind would come here to dance around and worship dark forces? Any fool can feel the strange emanations here, surely. Isn't it obvious that this is a place of ancient evil?" I tried.